Look, bro, maturity can take you a very long way. Maturity, like that's it. Like not just about growing in age. Maturity is not just about getting older every year, but it's about your mindset. It's about, your self-discipline, your emotional control, you taking responsibility, you taking accountability and developing and starting to master maturity can be the biggest difference between you staying stuck where you are right now or you hitting roadblocks and you moving forward in life. You taking steps forward every day. You becoming that person you want to be. You becoming that, best version of yourself. I talked about this a little bit in my logic versus emotion video. Like maturity matters. If you want to become the person that you want to be, you gotta become mature. You gotta grow your maturity. Maturity really means like growing wiser. Like I said, it's not growing older. It's not getting a year older every year. It's becoming wiser. It's how you respond to situations, how you go about, your decisions every day. It's not just about what happens to you. It's not just about what happens in your life. It's not just about growing older. Like I said, it's about how you think, what you do to situations, how you respond to situations, what you do when this happens, what you do when that happens. Like that's what maturity is. Maturity is a choice. Age is inevitable. You're gonna become older. You're gonna grow a year older every year as long as you're, on this earth. But maturity is a choice. Maturity is something that you gotta decide to build, or you gotta decide to, grow. You gotta decide to, master. Especially in this day and age in our generation, like I'm gonna just be honest, there's not a lot of mature people out here. Everybody wants to crash out as soon as they get mad, or everybody wants to act on that first emotion they feel instead of thinking logically, like, okay, if I do this, what's gonna happen? What's the outcome of me making this decision? What's the outcome of me, going down this path? A lot of people don't think about that nowadays. A lot of people don't think about that in the generation. And, you know, we're not that mature, like simple as that. Like we're not, a lot of people don't take responsibility. A lot of people don't take accountability. They blame others. That's not being mature. A lot of people want this instant gratification. A lot of people want this instant pleasure or this temporary pleasure instead of playing the long haul and waiting for, the long term gain, the long term success, the long term growth. A lot of people think before reacting. A lot of people don't think before reacting, my bad. A lot of people don't think before acting physically. A lot of people don't think before acting emotionally. Like that's not being mature. That's not being mature. And a lot of people like prioritize their comfort over their growth. Like I've always said, you cannot grow when you're comfortable. So why prioritize your comfort? Prioritize your growth, prioritize becoming the person you want to be, prioritize becoming 1% better every single day. Like these are all signs of being mature. Like I said, taking responsibility, taking accountability, delaying gratification, thinking before you react, thinking before you act, thinking before you take an initiative, you know, prioritizing your growth instead of comfort. Like these are all signs of maturity, and all these things matter. Like if you want to become the person that you say you want to become, if you want to, be where you want to be one day, like maturity is a key component of that. You gotta grow your mind. You gotta grow your wisdom, bro, because maturity matters in almost every aspect of life, like in relationships. If you're mature, you're gonna handle conflict better. If you're mature, you're gonna be able to communicate better. You're gonna be able to, communicate with empathy. You're gonna be able to stay grounded in your relationship. You're gonna stay loyal. Like maturity is a big part of relationships. Maturity is a big part of life. In relationship aspect though, we all know this generation. We're known for not being loyal. We're known for cheating. We're known for, getting around, whatever you want to call it. That's just because we're not mature. Like we're not there yet. We're still little boys. We're still little girls. We're not men. We're not women. We haven't grown wiser yet. You know what I'm saying? We haven't matured yet. But once we mature, like that's where that starts to come in at. Once we mature, we start to handle that conflict better. Once we mature, we start to communicate better, stay grounded better, be loyal. Like I said, maturity is everywhere. And then in your job, in your career, like you're dependable, you're coachable, you handle pressures well. Like these are all things that happen when you become mature, when you start to take initiative and think like, all right, I can't be this little boy no more. I can't be this little girl no more. Like, I gotta grow up. I gotta become an adult. I gotta become a grown man. I gotta become a grown woman. And even in your goals, bro, like when you're mature, you're gonna stay consistent. You're gonna stay disciplined. You're gonna stay humble. Even when the motivation or the inspiration fades to want to work. When the inspiration or the motivation fades to want to grow every day, to want to become successful. Like when that motivation is gone, if you're mature, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna keep going. You're gonna stay consistent. You're gonna be disciplined. You're gonna keep your routines and your habits intact. Like I don't even know what else to say. Like maturity is a big part of becoming the best version of yourself because it brings in respect, it brings trust, it brings leadership opportunities, it opens more doors. Like if you're the difference between a man and a little boy, bro, like a man is gonna get more opportunities than the little boy, or the woman is gonna get more opportunities than the little girl, just because you're wiser. Your wisdom is on a different level. Your logic, the way you think, is on a different level than somebody who acts like a little boy or acts like a little girl. Like to be where you want to be, you gotta become mature. You got to. Like there's different hard truths that build maturity. Like life is not gonna be fair. Ever. Life is never gonna be fair. But the way you respond to life is your power. The way you respond to life is your choice. The way you respond to life is your maturity. And in order to respond the right way, you gotta grow up. You gotta become mature. You got to. Like life isn't fair. We've all heard that before. But we gotta respond to life in the right way. We can't crash out. We can't get mad. We can't, be sad or do the wrong thing to mess up our future. We gotta think before we act. Whatever life throws at us, fair or unfair, like we gotta respond in the right way. And the only way we can respond in the right way is becoming mature. And the second one is like not everybody's gonna support you. Nope, not everybody's gonna support you. There's gonna be like a group of people that support you, but that does not mean that you stop. That does not mean that you give up. That don't mean that you quit. You know, in order to not quit, in order to not give up, like you got to become mature. You got to grow up. The little kids, the little boys, the little girls, they're gonna give up when it's hard. They're gonna give up when they see nobody supporting them. They're gonna quit when they see they got nobody in their corner. But if you're mature, if you're that grown person that you want to be or that you say you are, like you're not gonna stop. You're not gonna give up. No matter if one person supports you, no matter if 1,000 people support you, like there's no reason to give up. There's no reason to stop. And you realize that when you become mature, you realize that when you grow up, and you're not always gonna be ready. You're not always gonna feel ready. But maturity and growing up and becoming this person that you want to be is gonna push you to act anyway. Like I've always said, there's not always gonna be a perfect time. There's not always gonna be a moment when you feel ready to do something or you feel ready to start something or you feel ready to walk down a path. You're not always going to feel ready. But when you're mature, bro, like your maturity level and your wisdom is going to push you to act anyway, no matter if you feel ready or you don't. Like you're going to be pushed to act. You're going to be pushed to take initiative, to start something, to start that business, to start that content, to walk down this path or that path. Like even if you're not ready. That's what maturity does for you. Like you're grown. You got to act grown. Your brain is on a different level. Your mind is on a different level. And to grow maturity, like you got to reflect more and react less. This goes into a lot of things that I talk about, like reflect on things, think about things logically before you just act on them emotionally or before you just react in a way that you really don't want to react. You got to think about it, bro. Like you can't act off that first emotion you feel. You can't act on that first bit of anger you feel. You can't just crash out like we say nowadays. You can't just crash out on that first emotion that we feel because the consequences of that or the outcome is that is not always going to be in our favor. 90% of the time, it's not going to be in our favor. Like there's going to be consequences that come with those things. So why not think before we react? Why not think about what we're about to do or the action we're about to take before we do it. That's how you grow maturity. That's how you become a grown man or a grown woman when you reflect more, when you think about things more and you start to react less. You start to act on your emotions less. And we got to learn from our mistakes instead of hiding from them, instead of running from them. Like we all do wrong. We all fail. We all make mistakes. But we go to another level when we actually learn from the mistakes we make, when we actually learn from the failure, when we actually learn from the roadblocks. Like when we start to learn from those things and we start to view them as learning opportunities and not just a setback, not just a failure, not just a mistake, is when we really grow up. Is when we really become mature. When we stop hiding from them, when we start running from them and we face them head on, is when we really grow up. Is when we really become mature. Like there's different ways we can grow maturity, but you just got to take the initiative to do it. You just got to take the initiative to actually grow. You just got to take the initiative to actually become wiser, to actually become more mature. And you got to surround yourself with people who challenge you to be mature, who challenge you to be better, who challenge you to grow. I talk about this all the time. Like, you got to surround yourself around the right people. Like simple as that. The people that are pushing you to grow, the people that are pushing you to be better, the people that are pushing you towards your goals. Like, for an example, I got a collab video coming up with all my friends. Like, they pushed me to make that video. I didn't even have that idea until they brought it up. That video is coming soon. Y'all stay tuned for that. But like, the people around me are pushing me to be better every single day. The people around me are pushing me to be where I want to be every day, to chase my goals every day, to chase my dreams every day. Shout out to y'all. Y'all know who y'all are. I know y'all watching this video right now. Love y'all. But like, you gotta surround yourself with people who have the same ambition and the same goals that you, not the same goals, but the same like drive and the same work ethic that you got. Like, I got a group of friends. We go to the gym every single night. We not missing a day. What I'm saying? We hold each other accountable if we miss, if we're there, if we're late. Like, we hold each other accountable for these things because we all know where we want to be one day. We all know the success that we want to entail one day. And you got to surround yourself with those types of people, the type of people that motivate you, that inspire you, that push you every single day to be your best self, to be where you want to be, to reach your goals, to reach your dreams. Like, those are the type of people that you got to surround yourself with. And when you start to surround yourself with people like that, like, there's no reason that you won't become more mature, or you won't become wiser. You won't become a better person. You know what I'm saying? Because these people are pushing you every single day. And you got to start practicing patience. You got to start practicing discipline. You got to start practicing accountability. Like, these three things are key to becoming more mature. These three things are key to becoming wiser. Like, when you master patience, when you master discipline, when you master the art of accountability, like, you become unstoppable. Simple as that. Like, I say that all the time, but it's true. Like, you become unstoppable. You actually take time to work on and to master these things. And these all play a role in becoming more mature. These all play a role in becoming, wiser, becoming that person that you want to be. You got to be patient. Like, you're not always going to experience a win as soon as you start something. You're not always going to experience a win in a week or in a month. You got to be patient. Like, your time is coming. I promise you, your time is coming. You just got to trust that. You just got to have faith in that. And then discipline. I talk about discipline all the time too. Like, you got to get up and do the things, that you got to do when you don't want to do them. That's discipline. That's waking up every day and showing up even when you don't feel like it, or waking up every day and putting in work, or putting in energy towards what you want to be and towards what you want to do even when you don't feel like it. That's discipline. Like, you got to master the art of discipline, and it's an everyday thing. It's not a every other day. It's not a every 3 days. Like, discipline is an everyday thing. It's an everyday decision that you got to wake up and choose every day. You got to choose discipline. And then accountability. Like, take accountability for your actions. Take accountability for the mistakes you make. Take accountability where you may mess up. That's becoming a man. That's becoming a woman. Like, you got to start taking accountability, and you cannot keep blaming the people around you. Or you can't keep blaming your environment. You can't keep making excuses. Like, take accountability, bro. Take responsibility. You're a grown man. You're a grown woman. Why stop taking accountability? Why not take accountability? You know what I'm saying? That is maturity right there. That's like the biggest part of it is being accountable, being responsible, whether something good happened, whether something bad happened. Like, don't just take accountability or take responsibility when something good happens. Like, that's lame, bro. That's weird. Like, take accountability when something bad happens too. You know what I'm saying? Take responsibility when something bad happens too, and you're gonna become more mature that way. You're gonna become wiser that way. You're gonna be the person that you want to be that way. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna just be honest. Maturity is not gonna make life easier. It's not. Like, I'm not saying maturity is gonna make life easier, but it will make you stronger as a person. It will make you better as a person. And that strength that you gain from maturity, you know, takes you more places than talent or luck or hype ever could. Like I said, there's a difference between a man and a little boy. There's a difference between a woman and a little girl. You know what I'm saying? That's the mindset thing. You're going to get chosen if you're the man or the woman every single time. You know, the little boys and the little girls, their mindset is not there yet. So they're not going to get those opportunities. They're not going to be able to get taken places that the mature man or woman would. You know what I'm saying? So you got to take that initiative today to become mature. You got to take that initiative today to become wiser, to gain more wisdom, so that can take you places that talent or luck or anything ever could. Because it's real. Like, your mindset can take you places that your talent can't. Like, simple as that. Your smartness, your intelligence, your work ethic is going to take you way more places than your talents ever will. So that's why you got to master these things. You know what I'm saying? That's why you got to grow your mindset every single day. That's why you got to focus on your discipline, or focus on your consistency. You know, focus on your work ethic. Like, your traits and your characteristics are going to take you way farther than your talents ever would. And I'm going to use this example like this. Like, as an athlete, you know what I'm saying, we get scholarships to go to college. And a lot of times, like, the teams we're getting scholarships from, they don't always have athletic money. You know what I'm saying? But your academics, you know, you can get money for your academics. So the example I'm trying to set is, like, your maturity is going to take you farther than your talents. And your academics are going to take you farther than your athletic talents. You know what I'm saying? So master these things that you're not talented in yet. You know what I'm saying? Master these things that you may not have, you know, 100% mastered yet, whether it be discipline, whether it be maturity, whether it be consistency, like anything I've talked about. Like, master those things and let them take you farther than your talents can. You know what I'm saying? Become that person that you want to be, become that person that you know you can be outside of the talents that you may already have, or you may have already been blessed with. You know what I'm saying? Like, master the other things, and you're going to go way farther than you ever imagined. But that'll be all for this video, man. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. If you like this video, go hit that sub button. We're with 400 subs. Appreciate y'all. I love y'all, and I'll see y'all in the next one.